on the basketball court. The sun was blazing. Daniel! Another game. Benjamin wiped the sweat off his face and shouted, panting heavily, his eyes still filled with the unquenched fervor. I was leaning on my knees, my chest heaving violently. I didn't fall asleep until the wee hours of the morning last night. Now, with this intense exercise under the big sun, my head was buzzing and throbbing faintly. No more. I wiped the sweat off my forehead, waved my hand, ignoring the heckling and jeering behind me like, Daniel, you're not up to it. You've only played for a while. And are you already worn out? Then I turned around and left the court, walking towards the dormitory building. Back in the dormitory, as soon as the door opened a crack, a rush of cold air burst out from the crack, instantly enveloping my sweaty and scorching body. The sharp temperature difference made my exposed skin break out in a fine layer of goosebumps. The curtains were drawn in the dormitory, and the light was dim. Only the air conditioner made a low humming sound. I glanced at the only bed with a bed curtain in the dormitory, then lightened my movements and gently closed the door. It's sweltering, I muttered softly, grabbed the mineral water bottle on the table, unscrewed the cap, and gulped down the water. After drinking the water, I let out a long sigh of relief, plopped down on my chair, lifted the hem of my soaked jersey, and fanned myself with it like a fan. There came a faint rustling sound from the upper bunk. I froze in my movements and looked up. The dark blue bed curtain on the upper bunk across from me was pulled open a crack by a slender and fair hand from the inside. Then, a fluffy head poked out from the gap. Jack? Sleepy, I slowly cast his gaze down and said in a drowsy voice, You're back. I quickly put down the hem of my jersey and instinctively asked, Did I wake you up? No. He let out a small yawn, with a bit of physiological tears seeping from the corners of his eyes, and then added a beat late, Waiting for you. I was taken aback. What for? Jack tilted his head, and a few strands of his soft chestnut hair slipped down with the movement, brushing against his smooth forehead. Because I want to go on a date with you. There was a huge bang in my head, as if an atomic bomb had been dropped, and it went blank in an instant, with a mushroom cloud shooting straight up to the top of my head. All the blood in my body seemed to freeze for a moment, and then it rushed back violently, surging up to my cheeks and ears. I was so shocked that I stood up directly, my eyes wide open, staring fixedly at the little guy on the upper bunk who still looked sleepy and took it for granted. What date? Didn't we agree to start as good friends yesterday? His voice was soft as he retorted, Can't good friends go on dates? I ruffled my sweaty, prickly crew cut in annoyance. There was a lump in my chest, neither going up nor down. I felt even more tired and irritated than when I had just finished playing ball under the scorching sun. How could this guy say such outrageous things with such an innocent face? I wish he were a girl. That strange thought popped up in my mind again. My mind was in a whirlwind, and I didn't notice at all that Jack had climbed down from the bed and stood in front of me. With a look of anticipation, he asked again, Really not? I glanced at him, took a deep breath, and tried to reason with him. Good friends. We play ball together, have meals together, play games. Got it? Dating is something only couples do. Seeing the light in his eyes dim, I added dryly, We're not there yet. Oh, okay. Jack hung his head, a few strands of his soft chestnut hair falling down to cover half of his face. His voice was muffled, with obvious disappointment, and he looked like a wilted Chinese cabbage beaten by frost. Giving up so soon? I was a bit surprised. I had already prepared myself to be silently accused by those big, watery eyes, or to be pestered with all sorts of strange fallacies. This little rascal is being so cooperative today? I eyed Jack suspiciously. He had his eyelashes lowered, and his fingers were unconsciously twisting the soft hem of his pajamas. The way he looked so pitiful didn't seem like an act. That inexplicable irritation and defensiveness in my heart strangely dissipated a bit because of this unexpected obedience. Well, Jack suddenly looked up, his amber eyes shining brightly. All the previous dejection had vanished without a trace, replaced by a cautious probing filled with intense longing. Can I touch your abs? Touch my abs? What on earth is this unexpected turn? My eyebrows twitched. What kind of strange things is this little head filled with? Just failed to go on a date and now straight to touching abs? One grown man touching another grown man's abs? This feels a bit weird. Looking at Jack's astonishingly bright eyes, which were filled with pure, undisguised eagerness and anticipation, even with a bit of a "I've given up on the date. This little request should be okay, right?" kind of flattering. The words of refusal were like heavy lead, stuck firmly in my throat. I somehow felt it would be impolite to refuse him. This absurd thought popped up and instantly broke through my meager straight guy defenses. Sure. As I said that, I suddenly remembered my current state. I just finished playing ball and was all sweaty and stinky. Just as his hand was about to touch, I dodged it quickly. Wait a sec, I'll go take a shower first. 10 minutes later, I took a deep breath and opened the bathroom door. Jack finally got to touch the abs he'd been eyeing for a long time. I looked down at Jack. His eyes were curved, and there was a satisfied, even slightly smug smile on his face. The more I looked, the more suspicious I felt. Could the dates he'd been planning before just be so he could touch my abs with a clear conscience? As soon as this thought popped into my head, I immediately shook my head. No. We've been getting along for so long. Don't I know his personality well? Good-looking, innocent, exquisite. These were my first impressions of Jack. In September at the university town, the air still carried the heat from the tail end of summer vacation. The day before school started, I pulled an all-nighter. I slept through the morning, and by the time I dragged my suitcase to the dormitory, it was already 5 or 6 in the afternoon. I thought I'd be the last one to the dormitory, but it turned out I was quite early. There was only one person in the dormitory. He was standing on tiptoe, struggling to stuff a huge suitcase with abstract geometric patterns onto the upper bunk. His movements were a bit clumsy and looked strenuous. "Hey, buddy, need a hand?" I have a naturally loud voice, and this shout sounded particularly abrupt in the empty dormitory. The figure visibly trembled, like a startled rabbit, and quickly turned around. The balcony window was open, and the afternoon sunlight slanted in, casting a fluffy golden edge around the slender figure by the window. My mind went blank for a moment, and instinctively, 3 words popped out: so good-looking. Coming from a small county, I'd never seen a guy so fair-skinned and delicate. It wasn't a sickly kind of pale. It was like freshly peeled lychee flesh, glistening with a bit of moisture. His hair seemed to be dyed. The chestnut-colored hair was soft and fine, slightly damp with sweat, and obediently sticking to his full forehead. His eyes were big, with the outer corners drooping slightly. The pupils were a clear light brown. At the moment, due to the shock, they were even rounder, moist, like an innocent fawn in the forest. That look was so pure, the kind you could see right through, with a bit of the bewilderment and curiosity of something fresh out of its den, untouched by the world. "Hello?" he said. His voice, just like him, was clear with a hint of cautious softness, as if he had a piece of fruit candy in his mouth. "I'm Jack," he said softly, a friendly smile tugging at the corners of his lips, revealing the tips of 2 tiny fangs, making him look utterly harmless. I said directly, "I'm Daniel." After greeting each other, I walked over, reached out my big hand, easily picked up his incredibly heavy box, and stuffed it into the empty space on the upper bunk. My actions were so neat, a sharp contrast to his clumsiness just now. He stood beside me, looking up, his big eyes filled with the amazement of, "Wow, you're so amazing." There was also an obvious trace of gratitude and admiration. My sense of pride just skyrocketed. "Thank you, Daniel," he said softly, a bit embarrassed. Getting closer, I could clearly see a thin layer of blush rising on his cheeks, like smeared rouge. Taking a closer sniff, I could even catch a faint scent. "Man, he really looks like that precious BJD doll my sister adores," I thought to myself with a silent sigh and waved my hand at him. "It's nothing." Seeing there was still a suitcase beside him, I asked, "What about this one? Do you need me to put it up too?" Jack shook his head. "No thanks." "Okay." I scratched my head and then went about my own business. As I stuffed my crumpled clothes haphazardly into the cabinet, I couldn't help stealing glances at Jack. He was wiping the tabletop with a damp white cloth. After wiping the table, he moved on to the cabinet, and then to the drawers. He's quite diligent, actually. By the time I finished making my bed, he was squatting on the floor, taking things out of his suitcase one by one and placing them on the table. The things inside were arranged neatly, like they were in formation. His clothes were folded into small squares, and different colored storage bags were sorted by category. He even took out several bottles and jars of different sizes, with foreign, language labels that I couldn't understand, and an electric toothbrush that looked really expensive. His movements were slow and deliberate, with a kind of almost ritualistic focus. He's really particular. I pursed my lips and muttered to myself, a grown man, being so finicky, but looking at his slightly pursed lips and long, thick eyelashes as he focused on fiddling with those bottles and jars, I thought that this fastidiousness didn't seem so out of place on him. He's so good looking. It seems reasonable for him to live a more refined life. The dormitory was for 4 people, but there were only 3 names on the dormitory list. The last roommate didn't arrive at the dormitory until evening. Another roommate was named Benjamin, a really cheerful and enthusiastic guy. As soon as he entered the door, he stuffed local specialties into our hands. At that time, Jack was trying to figure out how to assemble the bed curtain bracket, and this interruption made him forget how to do it again. He made several mistakes and still didn't succeed. I just couldn't stand by and watch any longer, so I offered to help him set up the bed curtain. Maybe it was because I showed such great roommate spirit right from the start that Jack became unusually dependent on me over the past year. Well, not exactly dependent, but he just trusted me way too much. He'd believe anything I said. He was like a little young master who'd been well protected by his family and was innocent, not knowing much about the world. He was so pure that it was hard to say no to him, and you'd unconsciously spoil him. So, how could he have any bad intentions? Turns out I was just overthinking it. Jack seemed to be enjoying the touch so much that he just wouldn't stop, and I was about to give in. So hard, he mumbled to himself, his voice soft, filled with a bit of disbelief. It's like a rock, but warm. He looked up, his eyes glinting with tiny lights. Daniel, your abs are really well trained. You bet. A sense of pride at being recognized instantly rushed to my head. I instinctively puffed out my chest and flexed my biceps, showing off even more enthusiastically. These muscles didn't come for nothing. All the sweat I've shed on the basketball court wasn't in vain. Jack's face was bright red, and he stared at me without blinking. I felt embarrassed under his gaze and suddenly remembered the unexpected confession from yesterday. Jack. He seemed to like me, and here I was letting him touch my abs. I pulled down the hem of my lifted shirt, my face feeling slightly hot. Have you had enough touching? Come on, let me touch for a little longer. Jack kept touching, his fingertips lingering on my tensed abs. Then he suddenly looked up and asked me earnestly, Daniel, do you think if I work out, I can get abs like yours? I started imagining what Jack would look like with 8-pack abs and a physique like mine. The more I thought about it, the weirder it seemed. I looked down at the eager Jack and suddenly thought he was perfect just the way he was. Personally, I didn't think he was suited to work on his abs. Ahem. I coughed softly, trying to subtly hide that fleeting, somewhat sneaky thought in my mind. Well, you know, everyone has their own way of living. Jack blinked his big eyes, looking at me a bit confused. Clearly, he didn't see the connection between this profound saying and working on his abs. Forcing myself, I avoided his overly innocent gaze and started rambling. Look, you're cut out to be a scholar. You're so neat and gentle. It's great. You're different from a rough guy like me. I play a lot of ball, and there's no helping it. Why bother working on this? It's tiring, takes a lot of effort, and wastes time. You could use that time to read more books and study. That's much better, right? Jack didn't say anything. He just tilted his head slightly, his long eyelashes drooping, as if seriously considering my so-called brilliant theory. His fingertips were still unconsciously tracing the edges of the grooves on my abs, sending a fine, ticklish sensation. My heart was beating a little fast. Afraid he wouldn't believe me, I quickly added, really? Your temperament suits a clean and fresh look. Building a bunch of muscles doesn't match you. It's too tough and not good looking. I like you just the way you are now. God knows how pleasing his slender wrists looked to me at that moment. Really? Jack finally looked up at me. My slightly nervous face was clearly reflected in his light brown eyes. Why the hell was I nervous? I cursed myself inwardly. I grabbed his wrist, my voice dead serious as I coaxed him. Good boy, we're not doing it. Jack went red again. Looked absolutely stunning. But I've always had this dream of getting a six-pack. Whenever I see someone with one and I can't help but stare. He whispered it low. I shot him a sharp glare, then slapped his hand flat against my abs. If you want to touch mine. What's the big deal about someone else's? Jack hesitated for a moment and nodded shyly. The weight I'd been carrying finally lifted. I exhaled silently in relief. Couldn't let Jack be touching anyone else. What if he got hooked? Inside, I was still deep in it with Jack, talking about abs like we'd never stop. Outside, the dorm door had opened, no one knew when. Benjamin stood there, basketball tucked under his arm, mouth wide open in shock. Daniel. He dropped the basketball, pinched the little orchid, and walked with affected small steps. Lele also wants to touch the abs. Instant reaction. My hand moved faster than my brain. Heard that sharp crack as I slapped his sweaty, dusty palm away. Get lost. I snapped, frowning hard. No hiding the disgust. I waved him off like a fly. Dirty hands. Get him off me. Just finished playing. Stank to high heaven. Don't come creeping on me. Benjamin yelped and snatched his hand back, rubbing his wrist, whining like a 200-pound kid. Dude. What the hell was that for? One little touch won't kill you. We're both men. Seriously, what's your problem? He grumbled through gritted teeth, then flicked his eyes to Jack. Like he just uncovered some earth-shattering secret, pointing at Jack, then at me, eyes wide as saucers. Jack was touching you, so why didn't you smack him? You're really picking on me now, Daniel? This hurts. Heat surged straight to my cheeks and ears, making my words stumble out. Jack's hands are clean. He's obsessed with hygiene. Unlike you, who always come back from a game looking like a mud-covered monkey, never able to get the grime off. Clean hands, Benjamin yelped, squinting and leaning in toward Jack. Jack's sleepyhead. Let me see those pristine little paws. How exactly fragrant are they? He made a move to grab Jack's hand. Bold. I yanked Jack back instantly, and he ducked behind me right on cue. My overprotective move shut Benjamin up in a flash. That meaningful look swept back and forth between me and Jack, saying more without words. Fine, you two are clearly too cool for me. Guess that means you don't care about me much. He shook his head in mock disappointment and walked off toward the bathroom, slamming the door shut. A moment later, I heard the soft, shuffling sounds of him crying. Jack and I stared at each other, dumbfounded. Benjamin's usually upbeat and loud. Just a little too dramatic sometimes. 3 minutes later, the heartbroken guy was completely soothed by a $10 red packet. He was touched to tears. Daniel, sleepyhead, when you two finally get hitched, can I please be seated at the head table? No big deal. Just that I've always had a thick skin. Jack snorted with laughter. Holding his phone, he scrolled fast through the screen. The next second, Benjamin's thanks echoed like a thunderclap. Thanks, sleepyhead grandpa. I'll follow your lead for life. I raised an eyebrow, baffled by how I'd suddenly gone from bro to grandpa. Jack's lips twitched upward, a grin barely contained. Seeing my confusion, he shook his head lightly, his soft chestnut curls bouncing with the motion. Not telling. I couldn't help it. I reached out and pressed down on top of his head. Jack startled, letting out a short, nasal little hum. I yanked my hand back instantly, mentally cursing myself for being so rough. But Jack took hold of my hand and put it back on top of his head again. I allow you to pet me. That line landed like a feather, light, unexpected, brushing straight against the spot where I was most sensitive. So damn itchy. Without even thinking, my hand moved faster than my brain could catch up, already needing. The feel of it, like that little puppy I used to have as a kid. Fluffy, soft, always nuzzling my palm with its damp nose. Every time I rubbed its head like this, it'd make these blissful little whimpers, melting into a pile of gooey cotton candy. Eyes wide and dark as obsidian, staring up at me like I was the whole damn world. And now, those same eyes were even shinier, glassy with openness, full of unguarded wonder and pure trust. Staring up at me, wide-eyed and motionless. I stared at Jack's messy hair, then down at my own hand, the culprit. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a war drum, so loud it made my ears ring. I yanked my hand back sharp. What the hell was I even doing? I actually treated Jack like a dog and rubbed his head. My eyes darted away, couldn't meet his. You hungry? I'll grab you something from the cafeteria. The words were out before I could even check Jack's expression. Then I bolted out of the dorm. Benjamin yelled after me. Daniel, me too. Downstairs, I kept rubbing my hands together like crazy. My palms were red from the friction, but that soft, fluffy feeling and Jack's sleepy little nudge against them? It was burned into my mind. I felt like crying. This is such a total slap in the face to Jack. If he ever found out what I just thought, I'm done for. Dropped by the cafeteria. Came back. Still felt like I'd wasted the whole damn shower. Honestly, don't know why I'm so wound up. Showering twice a day? Feels kind of obsessive. But if I skip it, sleeping in sweat? That's just gross, right? Well, obsessed or not, I'm doing it. Came out of the shower, but Benjamin was nowhere to be seen. Probably went off to play basketball again. Jack glanced over, just a quick look before quickly darting his eyes away, ears tinged red. "You're not even wearing clothes?" he muttered, voice low and accusing. I looked down at my gray shorts, genuinely puzzled, then shrugged. "You want to check again?" Heat rose in Jack's face as he grumbled to himself. He knew I liked him. So why was he flashing his bare chest right in front of me? Just trying to mess with me, huh? Whatever. Jack's cheeks flushed as he covered the leftover food, climbed into bed, and pulled the curtain shut around him. Jack had a habit of taking afternoon naps. I tossed the dirty clothes in the wash, pulled the balcony curtains closed, then slipped into bed as quietly as possible. Just paused for a heartbeat. Glanced at Jack's side. Jack's bed curtain was tightly closed, hiding whatever was going on inside. I couldn't even tell if he was asleep or not. Didn't sleep well last night and woke up after a brutal workout, so I drifted off fast. Right on the edge of fading out, the bed shifted beneath me, then dipped slightly as if someone had climbed in. A warm, soft presence, familiar and sweet-smelling, slid into the empty space beside me. Somewhere between wakefulness and sleep, I thought I caught a tiny, muffled complaint. "You big bad guy. You don't even like me, yet still mess with me?" Must have been a nightmare. Dreamt I was swimming in a river. Grabbed by an octopus, couldn't move, drowning fast. First thought when I woke up, wait, how'd there even be octopuses in rivers? Still felt trapped. Looked down and saw a chestnut-colored head pressed against my chest. It hit me all at once. Jack was the octopus in my dream. Should I move or stay still? I wondered, frozen in place. Before long, that question twisted into something else entirely. How did things between me and Jack even get to this point? A straight-laced guy like me letting a soft-spoken boy sleep in the same bed. Again, was it moral decay? Or just my entire worldview gone sideways? I looked down again, at Jack still asleep and peacefully snoring. His chestnut hair was a mess, a few playful strands sticking to his smooth forehead and flushed cheeks. His tiny nose twitched with each breath, and his pale pink lips parted slightly in sleep. I couldn't help it. I reached out and gave his cheek a little poke, soft, warm, just like the girls in those romance novels. Silk smooth and sweet. "Man, if only you were a girl," I murmured under my breath. No sooner had I said it than I felt stupid. If Jack were a girl, guys be lining up to ask him out. What chance would I have then? The thought made my chest tighten, like something was pressing down hard. I shut my eyes tight in self-disgust, refusing to dwell on such nonsense anymore. But deep down, a tiny seed was sprouting quietly, like new growth through cracked earth. So what if he's a guy? Guys are great too. Just as the faint rustle in bed died out, Jack's eyelashes fluttered, but his eyes stayed closed. My consciousness was yanked back by a blindingly sharp phone buzz. I frowned, struggling to lift my heavy eyelids, fumbled for the phone on the nightstand, and silenced the alarm. Had planned to just close my eyes for a sec. Ended up passing out completely. Public class at 3 o'clock. Lucky I set the alarm. My sluggish brain finally kicked back in. I bolted upright, scanning the dorm. Dead quiet, just the low hum of the AC. Like I was the only one left. Where's Jack? Did he leave without waking me? A weird hollow feeling hit my chest, then instantly replaced by sharper irritation. I kicked off the blanket and jumped to my feet. Right then, the bathroom door clicked open, and Jack stepped out. Seeing him still here, the irritation melted away instantly. Man, I knew it. Jack wouldn't just bail and leave me behind. Jack? Class is starting. Jack gave a quiet He looked drained, so I stepped closer and asked, "What's up?" Jack shook his head, shoved the textbooks, mine included, into his bag, then turned and headed for the door. I frowned. Something felt off, but didn't push it. I hurried after him. Jack used to be like this after a bad nap at lunchtime. I stopped by the vending machine near the teaching building and bought a bottle of sweet tart drink. When I turned around with it in hand, Jack was already gone, lost around the staircase corner. Did he really have to walk off that fast? Walking into the lecture hall, I spotted Benjamin in the back row waving me over. He was grinning like always, and next to him sat Jack, head down, pretending to scroll his phone. There was an empty seat beside him, clearly saved for me. I slid into it and placed the chilled drink gently on the desk in front of him. "Why didn't you wait?" I whispered. Jack didn't look up. "Too bright out there." "Fair enough." I sat down. The whole class. Jack was quiet, so quiet it felt almost unnatural. Not like before, when he'd sneak a quick doodle of some tiny animal in the margins of my open textbook while I wasn't looking. Then he'd flash that smug little grin at me, nudging the page so I'd see his handiwork. As soon as I gave him a compliment, he'd go wide-eyed, voice soft and sweet. "Really? You're serious? Is it actually this good?" And once I said yes, he'd light up, scribble a few more animals in his own book, then ask with real excitement which one was best. Or when he found something funny on his phone, he'd tilt the screen toward me without saying a word. Normally, he was a total handful. Today, different, completely off, not even a word, just sitting there, slumped slightly forward, eyes locked on his book, long lashes casting shadows over whatever he was feeling. I leaned in close and murmured, "You okay? Did you sleep too long and get dizzy?" Jack shook his head, his reply barely a whisper. "No." I paused, then asked again. "Hey, wanna grab dinner in the cafeteria after class?" Jack murmured, "Yeah." My eyebrows shot up. What the hell? Why's Jack being so cold toward me? That dull, off-kilter vibe carried through the whole day. After brushing up, Jack climbed straight into his top bunk and pulled the curtain shut. "Whoa! Jack's hitting the hay this early?" Benjamin said, surprised. No reply from Jack. Benjamin scratched his ear, then turned to me, whispering, "What's going on with him?" My eyes landed on Jack's desk. His afternoon drink, untouched. Jack usually loves these sweet and sour drinks. He's always downing them like crazy. Whenever he didn't sleep well, one sip would snap him right back to life. So why today? A heavy lump settled in my chest. So much so I lost interest in my favorite four-letter game. No idea. All afternoon, Jack stayed silent and downcast. Could it be something's happened at home? That's why he's so low? Was he pulling away from me too? I mean, when someone's hurting bad, they don't want to be near anyone. The more I thought about it, the more convinced I became my guess was probably right. When the lights went out and Benjamin started snoring, I set my phone down and glanced over at Jack's bunk. In the dark, a faint glow still came from Jack's side. Clearly, he wasn't asleep yet. I tiptoed over and quietly called out his name. No answer. Not even a flicker. The light went out completely. My stomach dropped. My mind suddenly flashed with the image of Jack huddled under the covers, eyes red and silently crying, so small, so hurt. No way, I had to go in there and comfort him. I gave myself an excuse, yanked open his curtain, and climbed in. Jack wasn't asleep. He stiffened when he felt me move in, curling up tighter than before. I shifted over, lay down beside him, brushed the hair off his forehead, and under the dim light, I saw it clearly. Red rimming his eyes. "Hey!" I said in a light tone. "What's going on? Talk to me." Jack didn't resist at all. Just lay there, eyes wide open, a single glistening tear sliding silently down his pale, smooth cheek and landing on the pillow. My heart jumped. I reached for my sleeve and wiped it away fast. "It's okay, don't cry." His voice cracked. "I have an older sister. She looks just like me." Of course, that's when it hit me, everything made sense. I pressed him into my chest. "It's okay, it'll pass, everything will be fine." Feels like he's trembling slightly. My palm strokes his back, close to his ear, voice soft as I soothe him, just like you'd calm a kid. "Don't think about anything, close your eyes. I'm right here with you. Tonight, tomorrow, every day after, whenever you need me, I'll be there. Wherever you look back, I'll be where you can see me. Just rest now. I'm here." Honestly, even I think that sounds kind of cheesy. Nothing like the usual tough guy act I usually pull off. So damn fake. I mentally spat at myself, but kept talking anyway. I went on like that till my throat was dry and my arm went numb from stroking his back nonstop. The body in my arms wasn't shuddering so hard anymore. Breath steady, even, tired out from crying, or finally asleep. I let out a quiet breath. The tension in my chest loosened just a little. I stopped moving, leaned back slightly to check if Jack had dozed off, but he wasn't asleep at all. Caught. Jack blinked fast, voice edged with shyness. Why'd you say all that? At that moment, Jack's face was utterly free of any trace of heartbreak. Those eyes, just moments ago swollen with tears, red and puffy with hurt, still glistened faintly, but now they burned bright, like stars had fallen into them. My tongue tangled up, my face flared hot all over again, hotter than the moment I'd brushed his cheek earlier. I was just trying to comfort you, that's all. After seeing how wrecked you looked today, the air shifted in an instant. Something off, wrong. And I felt it. The body in my arms, once loose and easy, stiffened tight as a wire. Jack's eyes flew wide, like he'd just heard the craziest thing ever told. The hint of shyness vanished, replaced by shock. My sister passed away? Who told you my sister died? Jack's voice jumped an octave, shocked by my words. I froze. Just blurted it out. I saw you all afternoon, so upset, hiding away, ignoring everyone. You never talk about your family, so I just assumed. Shame flooded me, hot and sudden, cutting off my words. I wanted to vanish into a hole in the ground right then. All this for nothing, just a massive misunderstanding. Jack finally got it. My sister's totally fine, he said, voice low now. She just posted on Instagram earlier, showing off her new bag. Oh, right. I felt like an idiot, pulling my hand back to bolt, but Jack tightened his hold instead, wrapping me in a fierce hug, burying his face again into the crook of my neck, hot breath fanning across my skin. I was upset this afternoon because that thing you said at lunch, about how it'd be better if I were a girl. His voice dropped even lower. You know damn well I like you, and still, you said that. His arms squeezed tighter, like he was trying to press me into his bones. No way out. But I still really like you anyway. Even if you don't feel the same, I could totally hook you up with my sister. Then we'd be family, and we could just stay together forever. Jack's words sent a jolt through me. What the hell are you talking about? I don't even know your sister. She's really nice. Kind of the opposite of me, but I think you'd get along just fine. Jack's voice dropped even lower. My head was spinning. What kind of nonsense is this? Why do you have to shove your sister at me like this? I grabbed Jack suddenly, and he instantly looked even more miserable. I couldn't help but laugh. You say you like me, then go trying to set me up with someone else? What's wrong with your head, Jack? Jack pouted, didn't say a word. Look at that tiny face. Still going to pretend I'm wrong? I huffed, lowering my voice. Why bring someone else into our business? Huh? Talk. Jack sniffled once, and his eyes welled up again. I'm sorry. Don't yell at me. Cracked. I'd kept my voice low on purpose. Didn't want to scare him with loudness or anger, but Jack's tears just came hard and fast. I reached out instinctively, wiped them away. In seconds, both palms were soaked. Why the hell isn't there a box of tissues on Jack's bed? The thought flashed through my mind. Watching those tears never stop. I don't know what came over me. I just leaned in and pressed my mouth right against his, trying to suck it all up. Good news. Seems I actually sucked it all up. Bad news, this is even more awkward. Jack's face was bright red, and I could feel my own burning hot too. So damn embarrassing. I swear, I want to slap myself right now. Keep it together on the outside, but inside, my brain's screaming. What? Before I could finish, my lips got pecked. Boom. Second time today seeing a mushroom cloud. I was completely frozen. You just kissed me. You gonna take responsibility? Jack's voice was back to normal, soft, lazy. But that tone lit a fuse in my chest. Boom again. I saw another mushroom cloud explode behind my eyes. Well then, you kissed me too. You gonna take responsibility for that? Dazed and stunned, I only realized what I'd said when it was already too late. Side story 1. Daniel. A voice, laced with annoyance, cut in from nearby. What are you doing just standing there holding the ball like a dummy? Pass it already. Snap back to reality. I dodged his grab without thinking. I surged past him, took 2 quick steps toward the hoop, and launched the basketball. Clang. The basketball swished through the net. All right, kid. Did you sneak some Red Bull during practice? What's with this sudden fire? Another guy gawked. They all laughed it off for a sec, then dove back into the fray. In the scramble for the ball, my peripheral caught a familiar shape. Daniel sitting in the shadows of the bleachers. Daniel! Pass. I barely heard my teammates call. I was already striding toward the stands. The ball whizzed past me, snatched up by someone else who smirked at the shooter. Hey, what's with you, Daniel? The guy yelled, annoyed. Not playing. I shouted back without turning around. By the time I reached Jack, my voice had softened naturally. It's scorching out. Why'd you come here? Jack handed me a water bottle. Just bringing you some refreshment. My lips curled up before I could stop them. Thanks. Jack blinked, looking up at me. I knew exactly what he was waiting for. Baby. Jack ducked his head, eyes down on his toes. No need to be formal. Hungry? Wanna grab something to eat? Yeah. Meanwhile, back on the court, a few single guys watched it all unfold. Single guy 1. Why do they seem so weird all of a sudden? Single guy 2. Totally feel that. There's just something kinda squicky between them. Single guy 3. Wait, why's Daniel even blushing? Isn't he straight? Benjamin smirks, saying nothing. They're officially a couple now.